things that we can now do in 8 days would have taken us 12 months before.
Hi all, I'm Degan, the creator and producer of the LIBI podcast. This 100% volunteer-run show was born out of the Rainforest Alberta movement and features incredible people who are leaders, innovators, and have big ideas.
In this episode, my guest is Scott Muhlbeier, and we geek out over audio-video technology and AI. I hope you enjoy the show. Let's do this. Hey everybody, welcome to the Leaders, Innovators, and Big Ideas podcast. Today, my guest is Scott Muhlbeier. Scott, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for me.
I was really excited to have this interview with Scott because Scott is in Calgary and he has a really exciting company, and he invited my co-founder and I down to his office to see his technology and the things that he's doing. And we were blown away. I've worked in a number of big organizations that have meeting rooms and that kind of thing. And the technology never worked and it was hard to use. And when I went to Scott's office, I was like, why isn't everybody using this stuff? So Scott, before we dive into this really cool technology, could you please just start by telling the audience who you are and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Scott Muhlbeier. I started TEATRX in 2007 as a one-man show by cleaning up some cables under boardroom tables and drilling holes for conference room speakerphones. From there, we've evolved over the years and been fortunate enough to have been around for 20 years now. We have 5 international awards, and our core focus is designing and integrating the easiest to use meeting rooms in the world. That's what we want, make things easier for people.
Brilliant. What's your background, Scott?
So before I started TEATRX, I worked at Shaw as an installer. So I wanted to learn telecommunications and copper and fiber optics. And so that kind of led me on the path towards starting TEATRX on the wiring side. And then before that, I worked downtown in Calgary at a computer store where I got to learn about computers. Pretty green, didn't know anything, was selling. And that's when kind of the computer boom started. And so I got to learn a lot about computers. And then there was a natural progression. As I learned computers, then wiring, then I wanted to go into audiovisual and ITF that.
That's awesome. And the technology for audiovisual, especially with meeting rooms and the intricacies that are involved with having actual meetings with people, has really evolved over the years. And I think that probably the worldwide pandemic had a lot to do with it because people were forced to do Zoom and Google Meets and Microsoft Teams, and they had to have things work. And so what happened with you during that period of time?
I think what happened was people were in a mad scramble to really focus on remote or hybrid work. And so that's where the biggest challenge was getting people to work from home, knowing that there still may be emergency services that you have to have that are in the office. So how do you now integrate that environment and quickly? And the variables that people couldn't control was people's home internet connections. They didn't know how their setups were. So I think for all of us, we had to kind of scramble and figure out, what is this new solution going to look like? Variables that we don't know and can't control. And so for us, we just started looking at the office environment and working our way out and advising people on connectivity and how that could work. Because audiovisual now is so dependent on the internet. So if you've got a poor connection, you're going to have poor quality on calls. So we started with that premise and then worked our way through the technology as we went case by case for companies.
Interesting. And one of the things that sort of struck me was that a lot of these audiovisual companies that exist out there, they're experts at integrating other people's technology and figuring out how to connect things together. And if you have a problem, they try and find a piece of technology that solves that problem. You guys are very different because you create stuff and invent stuff to solve problems and figure out better ways. And you actually do programming and stuff of applications to help things connect together better so that your solutions are absolutely slick. Like when you were demonstrating to us how easy it was to go into a boardroom and connect to a big screen, it was the fastest and easiest way I've ever seen. And it's maybe talk a little bit about that sort of change where instead of just figuring out, is there a tool out there that I can plug into this, to how could we make this work? And talk a little bit about the 3D printing side of things, because a lot of people know that I really dig 3D printing. And when I was in your office there, I was geeking out a little bit because you've actually integrated into your business for the desktop connections and stuff. So talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. The first thing we do when we meet with companies is we try to understand their business, because what I've learned over the last 20 years of doing this is there's no one size fits all. And so the first thing we want to do is understand the business of what people are doing and how they want to use technology. So that way we can understand how we can provide value, because you're going to have a variety of different rooms. You're going to have small little huddle rooms. You might have large executive rooms, emergency response rooms, board of director rooms. There's a variety of different rooms. The focus is always, how do we make those rooms the same for using it, even though the technology within that room is completely different? So what we started looking at over the years, and the reason we started doing that 3D printing with the table cubbies, is we realized that most times now you just need a USB-C cable to plug your laptop or your phone in to charge it. And a lot of people said to us, we don't want to carry our power supplies for our laptops in our meeting rooms every time we go from room to room if our batteries are dying. And so we developed our own cubby system with horizontal retractors that you can use whatever cables you want. We specifically designed them for Apple cables because on boardroom tables, we need longer length. So we designed for 10-foot cables. And then we tested a bunch of cables to see which ones were going to be durable and work. And the Apple cables we found to be the most reliable, working with every product. Now within the rooms, we designed the rooms based on features. So for example, feature number one could be, I need to plug my laptop in so I can present in the room or video conference. So we designed a solution where you plug in a USB-C cable, it will provide 100-watt power delivery, and all the audio and video will tie into the peripherals of the room without installing software. And so you can use whatever software or applications you want, or hardware, whether it's a Windows computer, whether it's an Apple, Mac OS, it integrates with all of it. The next piece we do is we talk to people about how do they want the interface in the room to work. So for example, if I'm going to turn the volume up or down, would I like to do that on my laptop, or would I like a touch panel in the room that allows me just to increase or decrease that volume? Most people tell us they like an interface. So we've chosen iPads because we've realized over the years that each control manufacturer makes an application. So rather than spending $4,000 or $5,000 on an expensive proprietary touch panel, let's use the $850 or whatever the price is for the iPad minis. And then with that, we started making our own iPad mini holders, because we started realizing that the cost of some of these holders, first, the functionality wasn't what we wanted. Second is the cost was very expensive. And then we would go into additional features. So on that touch panel, I can give people a local room computer, laptop presentation, wireless presentation, a phone call button, depending on the features that they look for. So in our particular case at our office, what you saw was we designed each of our rooms for multiple use cases. Use case number one, or feature number one, plug in my laptop with the USB-C cable. Number two, a local room computer that I can use to video conference in any application or integrate with applications. Feature number three is I can scan a QR code from my phone, present in the room, disconnect, and the data then leaves with me when I'm presenting from my phone. The last piece that we integrated was just a Bluetooth just for music. We like having background music here, so that was one of the features that we wanted.
I like that. And something that a lot of people wouldn't think about. But yeah, it's hard to explain to people how different you are from the other companies that do this kind of thing. And the fact that you have this desire to figure stuff out and make it work in a simple, easy way so that people don't have to think too hard. And all the boardrooms I've been in, there's like a little coiled notebook or something that someone put together and laminated the pages. It's like, it shows you how to get the audio video system working, and nobody ever reads them, and the instructions aren't easy to follow. But just if people don't quite grasp what this is, you walk into one of these boardrooms and there's cables in the table that stick out about an inch or something. And you just sit down at the table and you grab the cable and pull on it, and it retracts out like you said, like 10 feet or whatever. But you plug it into your laptop and then you just have access to everything. It's just done. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It wasn't my intention to turn this episode into a sales pitch for TEATRX technology, but I was so moved and I geeked out so badly looking at all your stuff. I just wanted the world to know about it. But if we move a little bit away from the sales pitch and we talk a little bit more about technology, where do you see things going now with AI? Are you guys exploring anything in the AI realm with regards to this stuff?
Yeah, AI has changed everything. So what happens in the world of audiovisual and IT is you've got different applications or hardware that are all talking together. So for example, in our meeting rooms that we were talking about, thank you for the compliment, by the way, we've got multiple products from multiple manufacturers integrating into a working solution. So what we've done is we've evaluated each of those in, can we work with them? Do they have an API where we can talk to that from our control systems or from software to software securely? So we've really, if it's okay on this, there's a couple manufacturers I really want to recommend because they worked so hard with us that they deserve the
Please.
Yeah. So first is Innogenie. What they are doing from a video distribution, switching, USB control and switching perspective, it's game changing. They are based out of Quebec. They're phenomenal to deal with. So they've done a lot for us and worked with us quite a bit. So I wanted to give them a thank you. Another company as well is PTZ Optics. Their cameras and their camera technology is unlike anything I've ever seen. Both of those manufacturers come with 5-year warranties. So that's the first thing we look at is longevity of the parts. Because a lot of times now since COVID, what has happened is you got manufacturers that are making things and it's got a 1-year limited warranty. You try to get a replacement product and sometimes it's like pulling teeth. So with that, AI is now allowing us to talk to each of their pieces of hardware, integrate that into a working solution. It allows us to customize our drivers and our communication of how we're talking to the devices. So for example, we are now building our own drivers using AI. Things that we can now do in 8 days would have taken us 12 months before. So the innovation and how AI is changing it from a productivity standpoint is amazing. What it's also doing is it's weeding out the bad manufacturers with the bad products and the bad software. We get to learn very quickly who we want to deal with on integrating the technology. In addition to AI for the hardware side, just from a productivity standpoint, we're able to transcribe, throw that into AI from our meetings, and we can quickly paraphrase or put that notes and documentation into marketing documentation, training documentation, client-facing brochures. And we're doing it in 1/10 the time.
Yeah, I think that the world is starting to realize that AI is not going away. And if you adopt it and you start using it, you're going to really find a lot of value in a lot of different areas. It's fascinating to me. And as you know, Scott, my company and I are very involved in software development and AI integrations, and we create things with AI and use AI all the time. And it's really been a game changer for making things cheaper and faster for our customers. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But with the technology that you produce and that you build, what sort of things fail on your systems? Is it mostly software and connectivity, or do you have other weird issues that you tend to deal with more often than not?
Yeah, the answer is software is definitely number one. Hardware, I would say, is number two, but it could be the reverse. It depends on the manufacturer. What we've learned over the years in dealing with different manufacturers is some of them have really low failure rates and others have really high failure rates, but they hide that fact. And so with AI now, with the testing we can do with it, we can test the software and the hardware quickly. And it saves us a lot of time from something not working at a client site or providing us validation of, okay, we don't want to use this manufacturer product because it doesn't work or it's unreliable. And so currently what we're seeing is just with so much software development, you've got so many systems that are going to talk to each other. And that's where validating and making sure that everything is working Without AI, I don't think we could do things even remotely close or even find out all the gotchas that we found now using AI.
I would agree with that. Where do you think we're going, like AI or outside of AI, just in general? Where do you think your industry is heading?
Well, I think what it's doing now is it's promoting automation, right? So ease of use. Automation has been around for a very long time, but I think now what it's doing is it's bridging that gap between people, hardware, and software. And so it's allowing us to find different ways to do things more effectively and efficiently and focus on the work that we're actually needing to do rather than spending our time fumbling around. Like you said earlier, is you walk into meeting rooms and you spend 15 minutes just trying to get the room working. With the technology now and the advancements, I used to say I want a room up and running in 1 minute or less. Now I say to my staff, I want it in 10 seconds or less.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where the world's going. I think it's now promoting the use of collaboration and the tools that we have available to us and do it quicker and more efficient.
And one of the other things that I recall, I think I even asked you about this when we were on your site there. There's so much more integration between the people on site and the people off site now. So it's not just people in a meeting room displaying a PowerPoint on the screen. There's actually multiple attendees coming from outside over there. Maybe they're working at home or they're working at another office and stuff. What sort of, aside from the obvious internet connectivity, what are some of the other technology-based issues that arise from that kind of a situation?
One thing that we see when we're talking to clients is they've got their employees, then they've got their contractors and their outside people. And what happens is they're trying to figure out how they communicate back and forth because email doesn't always cut it when you've got live field workers. So now with the advancements in technology, especially since COVID, tools like Microsoft Teams, where you can now invite your contractors into shared teams, collaborate, show them files. I think that has changed a lot of it so that they can now have that readily available from their mobile device while they're in the field. And so somebody in real time can be drawing or annotating in a document, and from your mobile device, you can see that change. And I think that people are starting to embrace that now. Whereas before, it was we're the company, you're the contractor, we'll email you a PDF and we'll communicate that way. It's now changed. People are looking for more live collaboration.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the other thing that I've come across in the past, and I'm not sure if you've had to deal with this too often, is a live presentation. Like, for example, down at Platform Calgary, they have quite a bit of technology integrated in there where you have basically a meeting that happens live in person and live online at the same time. So you have a room full of people and a conference full of people all trying to communicate at the same time and hear each other and that kind of thing. I imagine that throws in additional wrenches into the system for you.
Yeah, the conventional way of doing it was that you would have, let's say, for example, you have an audio engineer that is controlling the audio. Then you may have a video person that is controlling the video for content being presented. And if there's multiple cameras, you may have camera operators that are switching the cameras. With AI and with the new technology that we can do, we can automate those tasks now. So there's different ways that we can have live broadcast, have local room access, but instead of having 3 to 5 people manage and maintain that equipment, you can either now do it with 1 or 0, depending on the person that walks into the room, if they're comfortable using the technology or not, or if there's somebody there to guide them. And that is, with the advancements in technology, that is changing it in a good way so that it doesn't take you that many resources and that much time to get up and running in there. That being said, people still have to know how to use the software that they're going to use. So if they're going to use some sort of streaming service, they'll have to know how to use that application. And sometimes that's the challenge is when somebody new goes into a room, they just don't know that software.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. Let's dive a little bit into the 3D printing side of things, because I think that's absolutely fascinating. Talk about why and how you got into 3D printing for your products.
Yeah. So the why is that the manufacturer products that we were using and integrating just got so expensive that people weren't buying them anymore. They just didn't want to spend that kind of focus. And not only that is they were bulky, they were taking up a lot of space in meeting rooms. And so we had clients asking us, is there any other options where we could do this? And one of the ideas I've had for many years is I always wanted to build my own retractor for retractable cables. It started actually for my house. So I wanted to put something in the wall I never got that made, but I did a horizontal retractor because we kept having clients and interior designers ask us, can you find this? We couldn't find it. So then we started engineering it. And then people started saying, hey, we really like some different colors for our corporate branding. Okay, currently our two options are black or stainless steel. So then we started asking what they'd want. And we started making our first batch. And we made 11 colors, and we had interior designers, architects, and clients come in. And we got feedback from people. I like this. I don't like that. I'm like, great. So then we had to scrap all the colors. So we went from a kind of a glossy finish to now a matte finish. And so as of yesterday, actually, we just posted online this morning, we now have 20 colors, and they're all a matte finish. So they're all new since you've been at the office here. And that was based on the feedback that people wanted. And then we started making 2 different sizes. So we made a 2-port, which we call our cubby dose. Then we made a 4-port, which we call our cubby quattro. And then in addition to it, last week, we were meeting with a client and they said, we'd like the USB-C cables, but we'd still like a couple power plugs. And so I said, look, we didn't design it for power plugs, but let me go back to my team and let's see if we can do. So now we're engineering 2 USB-C cables and then 2 power plugs, just in case there is that requirement that we can easily put those in. So that was a new development that we're working on. I figure it'll take us about a month to get that finalized. And then one of the other features that we were surprised at was when we went into conference rooms where they had movable furniture, people were asking us if we could design a USB-C retractor cable with movable tables that they could kind of plug in as they move and change these cables around. So now we have made our own little grommet. We haven't finalized even a name for it yet, but a 2.5-inch grommet that you can put cables in, and then we're going to have quick connects under these meeting room tables that are movable and with movable floor raceways so that there's not power bars and cables draped everywhere. And so we showed a company a prototype earlier this week, and that's exactly what we want. So I think for us is, like you said at the beginning, is our goal is to solve problems for companies, right? From a technology perspective, and mix the aesthetics of that in and have a little fun, make it so it's not bland and boring. And I think listening to people, that's probably the biggest takeaway is, what are you looking for and how can we help?
I love it. That's awesome. And if you ever get an opportunity to go down to Scott's, I guess, showroom, if you call it, you definitely should. He has multiple different rooms with different setups so that you can see. And one thing I absolutely love is the colorful sound panels you have on the walls and the ceilings. It looks almost like artwork, but it makes we walked in there and the first thing I noticed is that it was so quiet and peaceful. You feel like you could really just sit there and meditate.
We talked to companies about a lot of things. And one of the things about our space, it was very echoey everywhere. And so over the years of doing this, we looked to see who we could partner with for different manufacturers on acoustic panels. And so we just decided, let's do what we think works for us. And let's try to make it so that the sound doesn't bounce around and it's very calming. And that's, like you just said when you were here, is we hear that often from people. They're like, it is so relaxing. And sound noise in a room is a real thing, like sound bouncing around with glass walls or hard surfaces. It's very difficult for people to concentrate. So when you put some acoustic treatment in there, it really changes the game of how people feel when they're in a meeting space. And then the colors, we didn't know, we weren't experts at the acoustic panels at all. So we just, let's take every color we can possibly find and we'll just mix it up and try different things. And right or wrong, we just decided that was going to be our path. So thank you for the compliment, because we really like it. It is calming. And for us, it really helps us from a productivity standpoint.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I'm looking at we're not recording video, but I'm looking at the video of you sitting in your office there, and you have these dark gray walls. And as a photographer, I appreciate that immediately, because dark gray is such a perfect background that everything pops on it. And then you have these bright yellow and red triangles on top of it. It stands out so nicely. But yeah, it's definitely go down to see Scott. If you have anything to do with audio video in your office space or meeting rooms or what have you, platform should go down there and see all your stuff. They have these classrooms with these tables in them that you can move around, and they all have all these power cables and wires hanging off of them, and half of them get ripped apart and broken and stuff like that. It'd be nice to see some clean TEATRX technology in there that links together nicely without breaking.
Yeah, we're happy to do it.
Excellent. Scott, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It was great talking to you. And we'll link to the two companies as well as your company in the show notes, along with your contact information in case anyone wants to get a hold of you. Is there anything that you'd like to leave the audience with before we say goodbye?
What I wouldn't mind saying is just a couple other key things that we do that help companies as well. So in addition to the audiovisual side, we're on the IT side of it. So what we like to do is integrate the AV and have the ability to control the network side of it. So we will install networks, Wi-Fi, integrate all that stuff. The other thing that we do is we provide training documentation, both built into our screens, as I think I showed you, where you can press a how-to button and it's right there how to use the technology within a room. And nice little quick reference sheets that are on the walls that are QR code. So you can scan it from your phone. And if your company needs to change the content, we actually don't even have to go to site. We can just push that remotely. And so one of the additional services that we designed and offered is remote management of all this technology. So with our TEATRX co-managed services, we can actually put iPads in for clients. So at their executive assistant, reception, wherever they want, and they can actually control the meeting spaces. We can also be the second layer of support as well. So if something does happen, which is technology, something will happen sometime in life. So we developed that solution, focusing on time is money, keeping the rooms up and running, and providing tools that allow them to quickly control something if something happens.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I completely forgot that we discussed that. And that's really important as well. But being able to remotely set up and control the room is actually a really genius idea. So unless there's a physical hardware issue where somebody unplugged the camera or something like that, you should be able to help them get up and running in just before that important meeting is about to start and the thing's not working. You guys can help.
We realized that a lot of companies have people in different cities. And so what we started with a strategy was, let's empower the local people that are at each site. So if they don't have senior resources that can assist, and then add those layers. So for example, we could put iPads in Calgary in an office, Toronto, wherever you want. And all it requires is an internet connection. Then we've got some security settings and things that we have to do in the back end on our side, but it empowers companies to be productive and up running. And then we can also have remote access to those systems as well. So if they're like, we need to escalate this to you guys, can you help us? And that took us a long time to develop. Thanks to the power of AI, it helped us fast track a little bit of it. But that's just a really unique thing because we don't want people to be down when they spend the money on these new spaces. We want them up and running all the time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Excellent. Thank you very much, Scott. I really appreciate your time today. And everybody, go see Scott. He'll help you out.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate this.
All right. All right, so we'll talk to you again when we have another episode ready to go. In the meantime, sign up for our newsletter. It's on our website, which is libi.ca. And talk to you soon. Cheers, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Why not become a podcast host yourself? LIBI is a community podcast, and we would love to have your voice as a host or a guest. Check out libi.ca for more information, show notes, and links to listen to every single episode we've done over the past 7 years.
This episode is brought to you by New Idea Machine. We develop custom apps, automations, and integrations for entrepreneurs and established business owners. Visit newideamachine.com for more info.
Music for the show was created by Tony Del Degan.